It's good to have you back. Now, you and I are privileged to be able to take a book or magazine and read at any time. It's a different story, however, for those who are visually impaired, and it's not as simple as converting books to more accessible formats. Copyright laws make this difficult. Blind eNCA has now taken the matter to the Constitutional Court, calling to end the book famine. But to tell us more, I'm now joined by Blind eNCA CEO Jace Nair. Jace, thank you so much for your time, and good morning to you. Take us through some of the challenges that those who are visually impaired have to go through in accessing some books.
Thank you very much for that. And I think, like you've just indicated, for you as sighted people, you can just walk into a bookstore, you can walk into your library, pull out a book, go to a convenient space in your house, open the book and start to read. But for us as blind and partially sighted people, it's not as easy as that. Firstly, when we walk into a shop or to a library, we don't have books in accessible formats. And by accessible formats, we mean that books in Braille, books in large print, books in DAISY, which is Digital Access Information Systems, as well as in audio. So in order for that to happen, the printed text has to be transcribed into the appropriate accessible formats. The 1978 Copyright Act does not make provision for exceptions and limitations that would allow for us to transcribe those books into accessible formats.
Right.
We would need to get permission from the publisher in order to convert that book. Getting permission from publishers is not so easy. In only about 10% of cases, we have received permission to transcribe those books into those accessible formats. Therefore, if we had to produce those books into Braille, for instance, we then would be committing or infringing copyright infringement and committing a crime. And by doing that, for the first offense, the fine is 5,000 rand. Now, it means that in order for us to read that book, it is not possible unless we get the permission. And then when we get the permission, we then have to physically transcribe that book into Braille or into large print.
But I understand, Jace, that you have now taken this matter to court. Take us through your legal bid.
Yes, firstly, this negotiation has been going on now for over 20 years with Parliament and with the Department of Trade and Industries to allow us to have exceptions and limitations. Eventually in 2015, a copyright amendment was put to Parliament. That copyright amendment bill was approved 2 years ago, but the President sent it back to Parliament citing constitutional concerns. Since then, that bill is still sitting in the Portfolio Committee and has not made any provision. So in September last year, we then took the matter to the High Court, and the High Court passed an order in our favor declaring that the 1978 Copyright Act is unconstitutional in that it does not permit us to transcribe books into Braille and large print. The High Court then ordered that Section 19D of the Copyright Amendment Bill, which is not contested by any party, should be read into the Act so that we would get the necessary legislative framework to allow us not to be criminals. This would need to be confirmed by the Constitutional Court, and this is what the Constitutional Court was hearing yesterday, May 12th. The Constitutional Court needs to consider whether the 1978 Act is unconstitutional, and if it is unconstitutional, what is the remedy that they could provide? And what we were seeking is that the Section 19D or some other appropriate remedy be provided as an interim measure so that we can then convert books into accessible formats, and that Parliament be given 12 to 24 months in which to come up with some sort of more permanent solution. By not having these exceptions, our basic fundamental right, freedom of expression, access to culture, access to education is being violated.
I just need to ask you this before I let you go, and if you may be brief, Jace, I'd appreciate it. You know, this copyright law has been, described as, an apartheid era copyright law, and I just wonder, from your perspective, how much of a game changer, how life-changing and historic would it be should you be granted the results that you seek from court, especially from the blind and those visually impaired?
Certainly, it would be a huge breakthrough for disability rights in this country. This will become a user rights, a beneficiary rights provision that would allow us access to gaining our human rights. So I think it's very critical and very important for us that the Constitutional Court makes the necessary remedy, and that Parliament also then provides the exceptions and limitations, and to ratify the Marrakesh Treaty that would allow us accessible publications for import and export from all over the world.
Right. Well, I appreciate you speaking to us this morning. Blind SA CEO Jace Nair, thank you so much for your time.